The room felt smaller after that conversation. Smaller. Colder. Like the walls themselves were listening. Lucian stood near the door with clenched fists while Elias remained frozen beside the desk, unable to meet his eyes. Because the truth was, Elias did not know what came after this. Military camps had deadlines. Assignments ended. People left. That was how life worked. But somehow, Lucian looked at him as though leaving would be a betrayal severe enough to destroy him completely. "You're quiet again," Lucian muttered. Elias forced himself to speak carefully. "I'm thinking. That usually means something bad." "That's dramatic. You like dramatic." Elias almost smiled. Almost. But the tension between them remained too heavy. Lucian eventually walked toward the window, shoulders rigid. "When my father said you'd leave," he said quietly, "I realized I never actually considered that possibility." Elias' chest tightened painfully. Lucian laughed bitterly under his breath. "Stupid, right?" "No. Yes, it is." He turned then, and the expression on his face nearly shattered Elias alive. Because Lucian looked afraid. Not angry. Not possessive. Afraid. "I don't know how to go back to how things were before you," Lucian admitted softly. The confession hung in the air like exposed nerves. Elias looked down immediately because suddenly breathing became difficult. "You'll be okay," he whispered. Lucian's expression darkened instantly. "That's not what I asked." Silence. "Then, what do you want me to say?" Elias snapped suddenly, emotions finally spilling over. "That I'll stay forever, that I'll magically fit into your life after this?" Lucian stepped closer immediately. "Yes." The answer came without hesitation. So honest it hurt. "I want exactly that." Elias stared at him. Lucian's voice lowered. "I know I'm difficult. That's an understatement. I know I hurt people's. You hurt yourself too." Lucian swallowed hard. "But when I'm with you," he murmured, "everything in my head becomes quieter." Elias felt his composure cracking dangerously. Because nobody had ever looked at him like this before. Like he was something worth holding on to. Like he mattered enough to beg for. And that terrified him. "You're becoming dependent on me," Elias whispered. Lucian shook his head immediately. "No. Yes, you are. You think I don't know the difference between dependence and love." The room fell silent. Lucian's eyes never left his. "I love you." Elias stopped breathing. There it was. Finally spoken aloud. Certainly. Terrifyingly real. Lucian looked almost angry after saying it, as though frustrated Elias still didn't understand the depth of it. "I love you when you're yelling at me," he continued quietly. "I love you when you're tired. I love when you pretend not to laugh at my jokes. I love waiting for you at night even when you come back late." Elias' vision blurred slightly. "And I know I'm selfish," Lucian admitted, "because every time you smile at someone else I still want it to be mine." "Lucian." "But I'm trying," he whispered desperately. "I'm trying so hard to become someone who deserves you." That broke something inside Elias completely. Because Lucian was not good at gentle things. Every emotion he carried came out sharp and overwhelming and intense. And yet here he was. Trying. For him. Elias looked away quickly, pressing a hand against his eyes. "Damn you," he muttered shakily. Lucian immediately panicked. "Why are you crying?" "I'm not." "You literally are." "That's your fault." Lucian moved instinctively toward him. Then stopped halfway. Like he was afraid Elias would pull away. That tiny hesitation hurt more than anything else. So Elias closed the distance himself. Lucian froze when Elias grabbed the front of his shirt weakly. "You're an idiot," Elias whispered. Lucian stared at him silently. "You're possessive," Elias continued. "You're difficult. You make my blood pressure worse every single day." Lucian looked almost offended. "But," Elias said softly, "you also wait for me every night." The room became unbearably quiet. Elias laughed weakly through the tears threatening to fall. "And somewhere along the way," he admitted, "I started looking for you first too." Lucian's breath caught sharply. "You mean that?" Elias nodded once. That was all Lucian needed. He pulled Elias into him so quickly Elias nearly stumbled. Strong arms wrapped around his waist immediately, holding him tightly like Lucian feared he might disappear if he loosened his grip even slightly. Elias could hear his heartbeat. Fast. Violent. Relieved. You're crushing me, Elias mumbled against his chest. I know. You should loosen your arms. No. Despite himself, Elias laughed softly. And Lucian's entire body relaxed hearing the sound. For several long moments, neither moved. Outside, distant training whistles echoed through the camp. Life continued normally beyond their room. But inside, everything had changed. Finally, Lucian leaned down slightly until their foreheads touched. You still haven't answered me, he murmured. What? Will you stay? Elias closed his eyes briefly. This reckless, difficult man had overturned his entire life in just a few months. And somehow, Elias could no longer imagine leaving him behind either. So he answered honestly. If you keep growing. Lucian frowned faintly. That sounds conditional. It is. What if I fail sometimes? Elias finally smiled. Then we deal with it together. For the first time in years. Lucian Valdez looked genuinely at peace. Then after a pause he asked quietly. So can I kiss you now? Elias immediately laughed into his shoulder. You're unbelievable. That's not a no. It wasn't a yes either. Lucian grinned slowly. And somehow, seeing that expression aimed only at him made Elias' heart feel frighteningly full. Outside, the storm clouds over the military camp finally began to clear.